Montana, and I'm inviting you to join me on a soul nourishment adventure. This is the new work that I'm bringing into the world, and it's based on 20 years working in the field of healing arts and in creative self-expression. One of my friends suggested that I come to you with the definitions of some of the vocabulary that we'll be working with. So let's begin. If this is called a soul nourishment adventure, then let's begin with what my opinion, my impression of the soul is. And I think depending on what religion you come from, that this definition may be a little different. But I want to give you my position on it so that you have some idea about who I am and how I think about things. So to me, the soul is the deep-seated, it's like a star seed that lives in our belly. And in Chinese medicine, they would say that the soul is stored in the heart, or the Shen is stored in the heart. To me, the soul is in the Dantian, in the middle of the belly. And you think about it, the umbilical cord connects to our mother, and our mother is connected to the earth, and that seed, the sperm seed and the egg coming together to create new life is like the universe coming through our parents and delivering us into the world with that creative energy that is ultimate potential, which is how I view the universe or source. So soul nourishment is all about when we kind of get away from our connection to that source, and that can happen for so many different reasons. It can happen because of grief and loss. It can happen because of a change in health or in job. It can happen because the kids left home and our sense of purpose as being a parent has shifted, and we feel at a loss. And we associate that loss with the initial event that happened, but I think that almost all of us are going around day to day feeling like a sense of loss that we can't quite explain. And so there are tools that help us get reconnected to that source. And shamans and medicine men and women of tribal cultures have been utilizing things like rhythm, drums, sound vocalization, movement, dance to help to connect with that source. Because if you've ever had a chance to play with a group of people, even doing like round circle dancing, there's something that happens, especially if you're singing and dancing simultaneously. There's something about that movement form and the connecting of voices that it feels like, oh, I can totally connect in with that source energy that lives within us. It's like just tapping into something that feels like home. And so these soul nourishment adventures are intended to do that. As I said, I have 2 decades working in the field of body work, and along the way I picked up pieces of the puzzle in creative self-expression, improv dance theater in particular. And so I weave together both the healing arts, the connection that we're missing in this physical life with others, and our connection to self, our self-care, and that connection with others through the body work. What I've learned in this world that I want to bring to others and share in a larger way. And then secondarily is that creative process, writing, movement, speaking, vocalizing, just sharing out loud, integrating all that information in a new way. It's like seeing our story through different lenses, and those lenses come in the creative mediums. So we may be telling the same story over and over and over again. I have a story about when my family was in this big transition, And my aunt said to me, the day your mother died, you became enemy number one to us. Whoa. That's quite something to say to your niece, to a family member, to anyone. It's not kind. I've been carrying that information, that story with me, and I let it rob me of my joy for a really long time. And now it's just sort of part of the story. I've done various rituals to let that story go, but I still use it because I think it's a good example of the types of stories that we carry with us that can hurt us for indefinitely throughout our entire lifetime. We can hold a vengeance or vendetta against people for saying or doing something to us, and it robs us of our joy. And so part of this process is learning to let go of those old stories. And how we do that is that we tell them. First of all, we can vocalize them out loud, we write them down, we move them. That's another lens. So each one of these is a lens, a creative medium or a lens of which to look at the story through. We write them down, we move them, we have them reflected back to us. We're witnessed by another person. So we can journal all day long about our stories, right? And we'll just tell more intricate, interesting variations on that story. But when it's witnessed by another, when it's reflected back to us by another person or other people who see and hold the space for us to really, really be seen and heard, in the cause and effect, how we see it in our perception of that story, when that takes place, it lifts it. It's like it allowing others to see and hear, to learn to lament and then let go. That's a powerful thing to do. And then to integrate the new and rewrite the story. Lessons learned and wisdom earned. Turning wounds into wisdom. These are the ways that we nourish the soul. We also nourish the soul by getting outside and being in nature. We're living in a culture that nature deficit disorder is a real thing. And I know that there are those of you out there who know what I'm talking about. So I grew up on a ranch, and I spent a lot of time outside with just by myself. I'm an only child. And so I was in an isolated setting with my animals. Animals were my best friends for the most part until I went to school, and then we all have those kinds of stories too that shape us. And so we get to dive into this stuff, right? We get to dive into the stories that we want people to know about us, that no one's ever heard, that influenced us and impacted us. I look for turning point stories. When was it a complete shit show, your life, and you kept that good facade, you kept that mask on your face, right? Because you didn't want to burden anyone with the suffering that you were going through. And that's like, you think that's a nice thing to do for other people, but we sort of do a disservice maybe sometimes. There's one thing about dwelling in the pain and suffering. There's another thing about sharing it that helps to open up other people to their own experiences. That's a gift to them. And also it's a gift to them for them to be able to be a support to us. So we give each other that gift in sharing, the giving and receiving of listening, with cultivating of the listening heart. Learning to listen, learning to ask questions to help our partner unfurl, identify the subtle nuances to their own personal story. So we learn these tactics, tools. We learn these tools in the soul nourishment adventure. And then let's see, so we said we speak the story, we write the story, we move the story, we have that story reflected back to us. We take quiet time to integrate the story, and then we rewrite the story. Because we've now been able to see it through these new lenses. And then what are the what's the wisdom that comes from the wounds? That's what we're asking ourselves, because we just don't want to live in the wounds forever. That's no fun. It's not fun for us. It's not fun for the people around us. We want to get to a place where there's true healing happening. So ultimately, when we're down to the base of this, soul nourishment is a healing methodology as a body worker. And I worked on the physical form, but I was always focused through my intention and my prayers on that deeper thing, that integrating body, mind, and spirit, but using the body as the medium. And then I actually burned out from being a caregiver. And then that's not unheard of or unreasonable. It was an incredibly painful experience for me because body work had been my passion. It was my calling. And I thought that this would be like forever, naive girl that I was in my early 20s. Body work was truly a gift. It's something that I want to carry on. I've developed this conscious caring touch methodology that I want to share with people. We're going to have to figure out how to do that using the internet as our medium. And I'm so grateful and blessed that we have this tool at our disposal, that it's even possible to share what I know. And I live in a little tiny town at the edge of the hills out in western Montana. And without the internet, I would not have connected with people who are doing amazing work all over the world. And I wouldn't have the opportunity to share what I know with people all over the world. So I feel really grateful about the advent of the internet as a tool for us to share information with one another, which leads me to part 2. So I have this concept called always be training a replacement. And that's essentially what I'm doing here right now. Through saying, okay, so 20 years of experience as a body worker, I learned a lot. I have a lot to share. I want to free up space. I want to free up space in my brain and in my body so that I can continue to do more work, learn more, grow more, expand more. That's all in releasing that information from my body and making it available to other people in the world. And I believe that each and every one of us has a unique improvisation of the amalgamation of all the information that you've ever picked up from your jobs and your experiences with other people and all of that, and all the good stuff that's there, all that wisdom, lessons learned and wisdom earned, all of that is what I want to make available from my own self. But then I want this to somehow inspire you to take on your own improvisation, figure out what your own improvisation of information is, and then figure out a way to train your replacement. Because the truth is, life is short, and I know this firsthand. I lost my mother I was 23, she was 42. But let me tell you, when I hit my 42nd birthday and I made it to my 43rd birthday, whoa, that was a tough year, because it was like I just outlived my mom. And oh my God, I'm so young. And she was so young. And she had a lot more to share in the world. And I wish that I would have known that these capabilities that the internet provides us would have been available for my mom, because I think that she had wonderful wisdom to share with the world. So she was an artist. My mom was an artist. She was just a lovely lady, and I wish that I had her videos on camera, her telling me, giving me her wisdom, because I lost her soon after I was a teenager. We had some rough period of time. Then she got sick, and then you just don't know what's going to happen. When she was sick with cancer, and so it was like a 3 or 4 year period of time in which she was not well. And we had our own, issues during that period of time. Of course, I'm going to get into this as you follow me in my soul nourishment adventure. You're coming on this adventure with me, and I'm going on this adventure with you. We're in it together. That's what this is, this whole process. So you're going to discover more of my story, and you get the opportunity to share your story with me and with us, all of us who are going to go on this adventure together. And then my dad was killed in a car accident. It happened suddenly, and I had been with him 3 weeks before that, and we had done this amazing forgiveness work, which I look forward to sharing with you about that forgiveness piece. I have a piece with my grandma and then a piece with my dad about the power of forgiveness and how important and valuable it's been in my own life, and just how powerful it is. I won't go into that now. I'll just say that we were together. We cleared a bunch of energetic baggage between us, and then he was a 16-year-old kid, was randy and on his way to see his girlfriend, and he just didn't stop at the stop sign, or gunned it, thought he could get across the road, hit the 2-ton truck and horse trailer that my dad was a passenger in the truck, and then it's over. It was over. I never got to see my dad again. And so I know firsthand how, like an instant, stories can change. I mean, if any of us could step out the door, trip and fall, bonk our head, and like, you have a changed personality, you have, cognitive struggles that then last the remainder of your lifetime. And it's like, get the information that's stored in your brain and stored in your body, out of your brain, and useful in the world. Train your replacement. Always be training your replacement. And there's lots and lots of ways to do that. But we're going to work on that. And that's the practical side of the Play with Purpose process. So it's everything from stories, system, strategy, structure, sales. If you decide that's the way you want to go, you want to try to market and monetize your knowledge, and then celebration after all of that. You may just want to capture your story and your wisdom just for your kids and grandkids, so that they have your side of the story from your point of view. But this is the practical side of how to do this process. Okay, and then from there, we have Play with Purpose, that's simply for the creative joy of it. So there's Play with Purpose that's practical, and then there's Play with Purpose that's creative. And this is where we get into creative self-expression. And there's tons of tools out there. I have an arsenal within me and within books that I've used over time, and we're just gonna play with this. And the point of all of it is that when we get back together, when we get to come together and enjoy each other's company, we're gonna have a set of tools, vocabulary, philosophy, and skills that will make our time together really fruitful, and that we'll be in kind of like all on the same page, and we'll get to play together in ways that what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share with this with you over time through the internet. We're gonna do this on Wednesdays. Wednesdays are gonna be the day that I'm gonna be sharing all 3 of these pieces. So basically we're gonna come in, we're gonna do some conscious caring touch work, we're gonna do the Play with Purpose practical work, and then we're gonna do Play with Purpose, the creative side of stuff. We'll have stories developing for ourselves that's gonna be dislodging the information that's stored in our bodies, and that's what we're doing here. So Wednesdays, that's going to be being delivered. The rest of the time, I'm going to be out in the community sharing this information with people in small groups. So we're going to be playing with this in real time with the small groups, and then coming and sharing it with people via the internet, so that we can throw a party and all come together and play with this work and information. So that's a little bit of the background, a little of the vocabulary. I'll dive deeper into each one of these points, but this is kind of, where we start. All right, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch soon. So